Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. Going to be talking about every movie I watched last week, and before we get into the movies, I'm just going to briefly talk about some Star Wars that Mel and I watched last week. Mel refuses to watch Clone Wars because she really doesn't want to watch any of the animated Star Wars shows, and she's still not loving Star Wars, unfortunately. I'm hoping she'll find a love for it, but as of right now, she kind of hasn't yet. She's starting to, but hi, Betty. Also, sorry for the really messy couch. But hi, kitty. Yeah. Anyways, I finally convinced her / kind of forced her to watch the end of season 7 of Clone Wars because I love Clone Wars. It's one of my favorite shows, and yeah, I really loved revisiting it because it's some of the best pieces of Star Wars media that we have. Those final 4 episodes of Star Wars or of Clone Wars, yeah, unreal. And then we started Obi-Wan Kenobi, which we'll finish this week, and we're also going to start Andor this week. Mel's not opposed to watching the live action shows, but she really doesn't want to watch the animation or the animated shows. And yeah, she didn't like the Clone Wars animation. She said she likes the Rebels animation even less, which me too, actually. And I'm not a huge Rebels fan anyways, but yeah, we'll discuss that in the future. Anyways, let's get into it. We watched 15 movies last week, pretty much an average 2 a day, except for Monday when I watched 3. But yeah, let's get into it. Starting it off with my least favorite of the week, which is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And I know that might make some people angry. I know it's considered one of the best comedies of all time, but I just don't like spoof movies. I really, really don't like spoof movies, and this just wasn't funny. I didn't laugh literally a single time. It was hard to sit through, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. And it was a quick 90-minute movie, and I just didn't have any enjoyable moments throughout. So 20 out of 100 is probably generous, to be honest. Also, you can read my review, but this is the first time I've ranked something under a 2.5 star in over a month, which I was literally telling Mel the day before when I watched this yesterday on Sunday. I was telling her on Saturday that I haven't ranked anything lower than a 2.5, and I'd only ranked like 3 movies at 2.5. Pretty much everything I've watched over the past month has been 3 and up. So, yeah, I mean, that wasn't going to last forever, obviously. Sorry, Monty Python. Let's move on to the first of a few 2025 releases from the week with The Amateur, which I ranked as 62 out of 100. This is a very dad movie. I guarantee when my parents watch this, when it comes on streaming, they'll probably enjoy it. I just felt like it was a bit too long, and yeah, it was okay. 62 out of 100. Let's move on to She's Gotta Have It. One of my goals of the year is to go through Spike Lee movies, and this is one of them. This is his first feature-length film, which was a decent watch. I ranked it a 63 out of 100. I'd originally ranked it a 66, but I just lowered it before starting this video down to a 63. And yeah, I mean, it was a decent movie. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this one either. It was an interesting first look into Spike Lee films, and it's nice to see how much he's grown since then. Let's move on to Christine. Another goal of the year is to go through John Carpenter movies. And Christine, I mean, although I didn't love this movie, it was an interesting movie for sure. I ranked it a good old 64 out of 100. And yeah, it was okay. It's super 80s thriller sci-fi horror, I find, but it's just not very good in my opinion. It was okay. Let's move on to another 2025 release, which was Until Dawn, which was actually one of my most anticipated movies of the year, to be honest, because I really loved the video game, but this literally has nothing to do with the game, and it is really not similar to the game at all. It's quite different, actually. Now, they did tease at the end of the movie that we're going to the winter cabin, which could be interesting. So I'm intrigued to see if there is going to be a sequel, and maybe not with the original cast, from the game, but we'll see. I'm intrigued to see if there is going to be a second one. We'll see. I don't know. I've heard decent things about this movie. I thought it was decent. I ranked it a 64 out of 100. It probably just pissed me off more than anything because it's nothing like the game. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely not as scary as I had hoped. It was a little spooky. And that found footage scene that David F. Sandberg gave us is definitely one of the scariest scenes I've seen in a long time, and I wish that was the entire movie because the rest of the movie was not that scary. And man, that found footage scene was really, really amazing. Would have been nice to see more of that. So, yeah, it was all right. Kind of disappointed. Kind of left the theater a little disappointed, but 64 out of 100. Let's move on to Starman. And like I said, one of my goals of the year is to go through John Carpenter films. And this one is quite a unique John Carpenter film because it's not horror, which a lot of his movies are horror or psychological thrillers. I don't really find this one is. This is more of just a sci-fi romance. And I love Karen Allen. I really fell in love with her in the Indiana Jones trilogy, the original Indiana Jones trilogy. And yeah, I just... I really like her, and I see one of the top reviews for this movie is 80s Hollywood really messed up by not putting her in every movie, which is very true. I agree. Also, Jeff Bridges puts on one of his most comedic performances, dare I say better than The Big Lebowski. Yeah, 68 out of 100. Let's move on to yet another John Carpenter film, Big Trouble in Little China, which was an interesting movie. This is definitely something I did enjoy. It's a little racist, as I'm sure you can imagine, being from 1986, about 40 years old now. But yeah, the creativity throughout this film is pretty impressive. The practical effects and the special effects, to be fair, both looked really, really great. Again, for this movie being almost 40 years old, it was a lot better than I thought it would look, or it looked a lot better than I thought it was going to be, or than it was, I guess. Anyways, I had a decent time with this one. Ranked it a 72 out of 100. It's a good movie. Let's move on to another Spike Lee movie, Da 5 Bloods. And I'm going to read my review about this. The fact that most of the plot of this movie is about Chadwick Boseman's character who passed away hurt. I don't know how to spell, but I really miss watching him. I've always considered him as one of my favorite actors, and it's so bittersweet seeing him now, which I rank this as 76 out of 100. It is hurtful sometimes watching Chadwick Boseman in movies, and I really love Chadwick Boseman. I really, really fell in love with him when I started getting into film in 2019, and at one point he was literally in like 5 of my favorite movies of all time, and that's his passing and Paul Walker's passing were really the two actors that had hurt me the most in passing. So yeah, that really sucked, and yeah, it's like I said, it's just kind of bittersweet to see him because he was so young and we didn't get to see his career flourish into so many amazing things. Obviously, it did at a very while he was young, and he put on just amazing performance after amazing performance, and he had a great career nonetheless. But I just wish he was still here and was still able to be in film because Chadwick Boseman, like I said, is one of my favorite actors. So it just was kind of bittersweet, but nonetheless, I did enjoy this movie, which I ranked a 76 out of 100. Let's move on to perhaps one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, which is Carrie. And again, similar to what I mentioned with Christine earlier, this is a very interesting take on horror, and this is super like 70s sci-fi horror, and it's quite unique actually, which I enjoyed. I didn't really know anything about this movie heading into it, and I thought it was way more unique than it was going to be, which I enjoyed. And 77 out of 100. I did find the age kind of shows at times, like it's going to be 50 years old next year, so it is a little bit old, but still quite an enjoyable watch, and I ranked it a 77 out of 100. Let's move on to He Got Game, which is a very surprising movie. I didn't really know what to expect about this movie, considering what the plot is, but I actually had quite a solid time with this, and I've really come to love Denzel Washington. He puts on literally amazing performance after amazing performance, and this isn't the last time we'll see him on this list. Plus, I love Rosario Dawson. I wish she was in more things. It's nice to see her in something. And yeah, this is definitely a movie I'd recommend. I feel like it's an underrated Spike Lee movie, and I would definitely recommend it to you. 78 out of 100. Let's move on to Boogie Nights, which is my first Paul Thomas Anderson movie, which is also a goal of mine to go through his films this year. And this was a really fun movie with a fun time. It's quite a crazy movie, obviously, and like I said, it's really quite fun as well. So definitely had a decent time with this one. 79 out of 100. Pretty much everyone in this cast was absolutely hilarious, and there's a lot of moments in this movie that your jaw could just be on the floor, just shocked at what's happening. And Alfred Molina probably puts on one of my favorite comedic performances from the 90s. He was absolutely hilarious in this movie, and I love his mustache. I'm jealous of people that can grow a mustache. Yeah, good old 79 out of 100. Let's move on to actually how I started the week, which was Malcolm X, which I ranked a 80 out of 100. This is a very great movie, and I learned a lot about Malcolm X, which truthfully I could say I didn't know anything about. And last Sunday, not yesterday, but the one before, I was celebrating my stepfather's 60th anniversary, or Saturday, sorry, my stepfather's 60th birthday. And I was looking back at some things that happened 60 years ago, and I learned that Malcolm X had passed away 60 years ago. So it was the anniversary of that. Felt like it was an appropriate time to watch it since I just learned about that. And yeah, like I said, I learned a lot about this movie. I would read the review because I said a lot that doesn't need to be mentioned again, I guess. But I don't think I can really add much to this conversation apart from this might be Spike Lee at his best, especially in terms of the character that we get behind Denzel Washington, who is just really tremendous, as always, obviously. Alright, let's move on to the top 3 of the week with my last 2025 watch on this list. Starting it off with Warfare, which just came out on Prime last week to rent, which I rented it and I watched it with some friends. And I've been waiting to watch this, hoping to convince Mel to go see it because Mel has just fell in love with everyone in this cast. Even though she was already in love with Kit Connor, especially, and Joseph Quinn, she's just fallen in love with this cast even more, especially with some interviews and some group interviews. But I was kind of hoping to go see this with Mel. She wasn't really up for it. She's not really up for horror films. And everyone kept saying, she kept hearing how suffocating it was, which is a very suffocating experience. And it's a very interesting take. Not even take, I should say. It's a very interesting story about war. And this is literally like an hour and a half movie that takes place over 2 hours. Like, it's crazy. I can only imagine what that would be like. So, yeah, really all I wrote for my review is just I regret not being able to see this in theaters because the sound of this in theaters probably would have been pretty sweet. And I wish I could have seen it in theaters. Unfortunately, it's not playing in theaters near me anymore, so that sucks. But I enjoyed it. One of my favorites of the year so far. I think top 3 or top 4, I don't remember. Anyways, let's move on to my favorite Spike Lee watch so far, at least of last week. It's my second favorite. Inside Man, which I really expected Denzel Washington to be a part of that bank heist crew, and that completely subverted my expectations. It was not like that at all, and this was a crazy, interesting twist at the end of the movie that I really enjoyed, and this was a really great movie. It just held a grip on me. I was really, really intrigued, and I had a great, great time with this movie. Ranked it an 84 out of 100. One of my favorites of the week, obviously. And let's move on to my favorite of the week, which is Singing in the Rain. I've continuously seen pictures of this in media recently, and I'm so glad I finally have gotten the chance to watch this movie because it surpassed my expectations. I had really high expectations for this, but it completely surpassed them. The music is really, really great. I loved how beautiful this movie looked. It's one of the most colorful movies I've ever seen, and it looked gorgeous. The set pieces were huge. The dance pieces, the dance sets, I don't know, the dance numbers, they were also amazing and huge, and this was a lot of fun to watch, and it's a funny fucking movie. It's a really, really funny movie, and yeah, did I ever enjoy this? I really want to rewatch this, and I really want to watch The Sound of Music, which is also celebrating its 60th birthday this year. And these are two really old musicals that I've absolutely fallen in love with, and I really love a lot more than Mel does, which is quite surprising because she's the musical girl. So, yeah, nonetheless, that's it for everything today. What did I just say? Thank you guys all so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.